Hey there, Danny with Right Foot Down. I messed up this ad read so many times because I really want to tell you about Track Monkey Apparel. They make great quality enthusiast shirts along with hats, stickers, watches, patches, you name it. A couple of my personal favorites are their Life is Better at the Track tee and their One Track Mind tee. You should really check them out and see for yourself. Their products are great for you or the gearhead in your life. Visit trackmonkeyapparel.com.
You're listening to the Untitled Car Show in partnership with RightFootDown.com. Visit RightFootDown for your daily automotive fix. If you enjoyed today's program, please tell a friend. It's the best way to support this show. If you want to visit the archives, go to YouTube and search for Untitled Car Show. That'll bring you to the archived episodes. If you want to follow this show, just search for Untitled Car Show on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. You can always send an email to the show at untitledcarshow@rightfootdown.com. We're so glad you decided to spend the next hour or so with us. Without further ado, let's get into today's program. Hello and welcome to the Untitled Car Show. I am joined today by the gremlin of technical issues, Justin Hughes, a.k.a. Yeah. Justin, thank you so much. I mean, we tried doing this. I think I'm going to put the technical issues we had from when we last tried to record at the end of this, just because I think it will be hilarious.
Yeah, that'll be the blooper reel. That'll be great.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those yet, so that should be interesting. So, what makes it really interesting is you used to do the podcast episode description, which was fantastic for me because that meant I didn't have to write anything. And we talked very briefly about this before we started just having a horrid technical issues last time. So, how badly did that make you want to quit and go work for The Drive?
Well, it wasn't because of the write-ups for your podcast. I can guarantee that. Nah, it was interesting to do. It was just tricky. I mean, you know, the perk of that gig was I got to hear every podcast before everybody else, so that was pretty cool. I just had to find, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, to listen to the entire podcast, take notes as we went along about the fine points, the important things, the funny things, the just totally, utterly bizarre things, and then throw a paragraph together and put it all together somehow. So that's all that was. But it wasn't bad. It's just, I'm a little more pressed for time with my other writing these days.
Oh, and in honor of you, sir, I am currently eating, as a Massachusetts, I am eating a Dunkin' Donut in honor of your heritage up there. So. Oh
yes, excellent. I mean, yeah. We might as well use those. Oh, no, they're not mile markers. They're not even tenth of a mile markers. You got them on every street corner around here. Really.
Dunkin' Donut. It's been years since I ate donuts a lot, and it's just as of recently I've just had cravings for donuts, and I don't know why. So this is not for nothing, but I don't know. Maybe it's a sign should move or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that's kind of just a random aside on that one. So let's talk a little bit. So yeah, really. Put down the donut and be professional. Come on now. But I mean, you were
professional?
Yeah, well, I try sometimes to be. I mean,
sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it's you had the unfortunate luck of, and I say that jokingly, of course, that listening to the show and getting to experience it in a more raw format than I think most people got used to it.
True.
I don't know. It's because I only ever have to listen to one side. I just have to all the bullshit that comes out of my own mouth, and I don't know. It's interesting dynamic. So going from that and going to working, you write some fantastic articles, but when you write for Right Foot Down, and now you're writing some articles for The Drive, and you recently did, what was it? You went to Fort Washington Hill Climb. Is that the name of the hill climb?
Climb to the Clouds, Mount Washington, New Hampshire, yes.
Mount Washington. I don't know why Fort was in my head. I think it's because everything around D.C. is Fort something, because we don't have mountains. So
there's a lot of forts in New England, too. We had to defend our borders from those pesky British and French back in the day.
Yeah, stupid Canada. You can't get in here and take our
right?
shit. Yeah. Keep your poutine on the other side of the wall. We thought it was some sort of venereal disease.
No, bring the poutine here. I totally blame my wife for that. She's from Montreal. She introduced me to poutine, and now I am hooked. I love the stuff.
Mm-hmm. But
it's a heart attack in a bowl, but I really don't care once in a while.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying if you're 18th century, 19th century Massachusetts, and someone's saying the Canadians are coming and they have poutine, you'd be like, I don't want that venereal disease. Just keep that on the other side. Keep them away from me.
Except Canada didn't exist until 150 years ago as a country. Before that, it was just Britain, or British colonies.
Look at you, mister. I know things about history. Shame on you. Shame.
Right now, in honor of this particular weekend, I am wearing my shirt that says, that's what I do. I drink and I know things.
This is very true. That is a very
I am drinking, so there we go.
Mm-hmm. I also have, again, from Dunkin' Donuts, not sponsor, but if they're interested, Dunkin' Donuts hit me up, because we're still looking for we have the Untitled Car Show official pizza place and hot dog place, but we're still working on, actually we don't have a hot dog place. It's kind of a tie between two. We have an official steakhouse. Because they need to send me something first before I make them the official one. But the unofficial official one. But we need an official fast food place, and I don't know, Dunkin' Donuts. So
the unofficial, official sponsor, right?
Well, no. See, Illuminati sent me pizza, so they're the official pizza place. That's how that works. You give me free crap, and then I give you the official market. I don't know what it counts for, but it's fine, I guess. So. But
what is it, a silhouette of a Volvo stamped on your forehead?
Yeah, it's actually it's a brand. I actually have them brand my ass. That's what they do. Is they actually so that way I pull it down and you just see the cursive Illuminati's right there. Well, I should get.
That is not an image I needed. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm sorry, listenership. For everyone listening in an office environment, I apologize. But no, lost my train of thought there. So, as a Massachusetts, and we're going back here to your particular knowledge on this, can you go to Dunkin' Donuts for anything besides breakfast? Is there anything there worth eating outside of their breakfast bullshit?
Well, they do have some regular sandwiches and stuff, but I don't really see a point in going there unless you're getting donuts or bagels or coffee or something like that. One of their culottes in the summer is very nice. I like those once in a while. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they do stuff other than breakfast, but I just stick with breakfast when you go there.
Mm-hmm. See, I try and throw you off because the particular ADHD aspect of the show, so I'm trying to throw you even more off on this one and just kind of blindside you with topics. So,
but I'm ADHD myself, so ADD technically, so I can keep right up.
Right. Oh, see, that's not a good one. So at the end of this, we're going to be talking way off the corner. So if you're interested in cars, just turn it off right now, I suppose. But actually, speaking of that, so you have a project I'm very interested in. You're writing articles about it for The Drive, and I'm fascinated. It seems like you even roped the missus into this one with you. So a while ago, you managed to score a fairly inexpensive Volkswagen Jetta for a specific purpose. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that and how far along the project's progressing and what you're going to use it for?
Absolutely. Well, this past winter, surfing Craigslist, looking for a project car, I found and we picked up a 2003 Jetta Wolfsburg Edition for $600. The 1.8 turbo, it wasn't perfect, of course. It had some rear end damage, but that was absolutely perfect for our purposes, which is to convert it into a Smith Performance Ute, which is basically turning a Jetta into a small pickup truck. Very cool little kit car kind of thing that they offer. They started with the Jetta. They've recently started expanding. They came out with one for the Dodge Charger earlier this year, and they're just now coming out with one for the mid-2000s Audi A4 and S4. So that's pretty cool. But I just got the basic Jetta and putting it in that. As far as my progress so far, over several weekends, they say you can build this in 20 to 40 hours of work, just a couple of weekends. But I'm not rushing it. I'm taking a lot of pictures and stuff as I go. I got a lot of other projects going. So I've been at this for maybe about a month now. The aluminum bed, well, so the first step, of course, was stripping and then cutting the upper rear quarter of the car off. That's half the roof. That's most of the rear wheel wells, the whole trunk area. The back window goes away. Trimming it down to size. And then the best part of this kit is there is no welding involved. So even a moderately mechanically inclined person like me can do it. You don't need crazy skills or crazy tools or anything. The only professional tool I'm using right now is a riveter that a friend of mine with his own shop just offered to loan me, and I said okay, because I'd be silly not to. But I have most of the aluminum structure in at this point. It's mostly riveted and bolted into place. I can grab any part of the aluminum bed and the whole car shakes when I shake it. So it's just as solid as the original car. Just today I got the tail lights hooked up. Rather than the original Jetta tail lights, it replaces those with Ford Explorer Sport Track tail lights that are modified as well to take into account the separate turn signal and reverse light and brake light that the Explorer had instead of the Jetta, which has all separate lights. So I got that working tonight, and I got to do a little more cleaning up of the wiring, but the next step is to pop on the tailgate and start putting the fiberglass body panels on. That's where it really gets exciting. That's where it gets to the point. Once the fiberglass is on, I'll be able to start driving the car even before paint, because aluminum and fiberglass doesn't rust.
This is true. And it's Massachusetts, so that's a very important thing. So,
oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I saw
one of my favorite parts of this project is that for once in my life, I'm not working on old rusty bolts and stuff, where 90% of the work is getting the stupid thing apart. This is all clean. This is all new. This is fun.
Yeah, it's remarkable, like, if you've lived in the Rust Belt, how quickly shit just goes south when it comes to rust.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what manufacturers, like, because most car manufacturers are based in Detroit. I don't know what their, like, fetish is without rust-proofing stuff, but, I can't imagine it would be too hard to switch to some sort of alloy that doesn't rust, like, instantly, but that's the curse of our life, I suppose. So it would add 0.01 of a cent to the car total cost, so we're not going to do it.
Of course not.
Because that would be...
Well, see, if cars didn't rust away, they wouldn't be able to sell as many cars to replace them.
There is a science to that, I'm sure, where it's like, well, planned obsolescence and all that.
Yeah, well, you can choose that, you're going to carry on with an older car with older technology. You don't need 8,000 airbags. You don't need the car to have to drive itself. You don't have as much of a choice, though, when the body falls apart around you. It's not really something you can drive anymore at that point.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point, because you could always change the running gear. You could always do stuff to it, but as soon as the shell gets compromised, it's a lot harder to make that work for you. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking of that, I see that you, in a recent tweet, you were inspired by Freddie Hernandez. You have a way you're going to do your paint?
Yes. Yeah, Freddie, or Tavares, as he goes by. He recently posted a video where he plastered it his entire Mercedes, or one of them at least. And, I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to finish off the Jetta Ute, because the back half is going to be unpainted fiberglass, black and all that. The front half is still silver, and one of the front fenders I need to replace. It came with a dent in it, so that's going to be whatever color the donor car was. And I want to make it all one color and look pretty. And I've been wondering if I should paint it or wrap it or dip it. But seeing his video on exactly how he dipped the Mercedes, the kit looks like it comes with everything you need, and the end result is decent. And if I don't like it when it's done, I can just peel it off and try something else. But I was looking at the prices, and the color we want is plum crazy. It's a nice shade of purple. Just to be weird. And the kit for that, we're pricing it based on a coupe because, well, let's face it, there's no back seat anymore. There's not as much body as there used to be. And that's going for about $367, which isn't bad, and it's cheaper than even probably the most basic Mako paint job. I'm just guessing on that, but it's got to be easier than that. Plus, I can do it myself without paying someone else to do it.
True. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm pondering a direction to go with the Volvo. So I was talking with some people, and blue is nice. I like the blue on the car, to be perfectly honest.
It's good blue.
The wife is a big fan. Her favorite color, our wedding color, was British Racing Green. So
that's a good one too.
Yeah, so I was having a thought. So the listeners are aware that the hood is painted in chalkboard paint, and chalkboard paint comes in two colors. It comes in black, and it comes in slate, which is basically British Racing Green. So my thought was maybe I take all the plastic dip off, because I put it on in such a half-assed way. It doesn't look at all good. I'm tempted to paint a white roof on it to help with the heat, because there's no AC in that, and then the rest of the car, with the exception of the hood, as British Racing Green, and keep the hood black because carbon fiber. So that's
right.
That's kind of where I'm at with that. So
it's really funny you should say that, because not only have I sold my wife on this idea of dipping the Jetta purple, she doesn't like the silver of her Ford Flex because it's just boring. And then she got looking into dips for herself, and what she thinks she wants is a green they have that's maybe a little bit lighter than British Racing Green, but not much. That across the bottom, and a white roof.
Yeah.
She came to that conclusion all by herself earlier today. So great minds think alike, I guess.
I suppose, yes. Turns out,
no chalkboard hood for us. We'll make that green too.
Plot twist: I'm actually your wife, Justin. This has been a long con. That's what's going on here. So, have you ever seen us in the same place at the same time?
Right now. I get it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen us in the same place at the same time? I don't think so.
No,
yeah,
I have not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. Yeah, that's disturbing. I don't want
wait
you.
Wait a minute. No. GRC and DC last year, you were both there.
Oh, that was a paid actor. That's what that was.
Oh, I see. I
see.
Mm-hmm.
It's all an illusion.
It wasn't your evil twin?
What?
It wasn't your evil twin?
You know too much. Get him, boys! Send in the birds. Send in the birds.
Actually, that was your good twin. You're the evil one.
Well, yeah, that's why I have the goatee. But I'm so evil, It's turned into a full beard. I'm liking the beard. I don't know.
Like evil Spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Because last we met, if I recollect correctly, you were pretty much clean-shaven, I believe, last time I saw you. Because
I was.
You like the baby face, right? Have you ever grown out like a big? Because I know your hair. You got the ponytail going on. Have you ever grown out like a big old beard? I imagine the answer is yes.
Not a big old beard, but I am doing a little face fuzz these days, just because, well, let's face it, I got really sick of shaving every day, and I'm lazy. So this, buzzing once a week, and it's good.
But see, that's the aspect I like of it too. But like I've let this thing grow out. I grew it out and then I trimmed it off, and then the wife was like, I don't like the way that's trimmed. So now I'm just kind of letting it go like full Bushman, and I'm liking it at the moment. I can't really grow it out too far at the moment. I have despite my like honkiness, like I have like a lot of Southern Italian in me, which means I get like very curly, like almost like. See, I grew up in a very, 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 very white community. Like, yep. I went to high school, and that was like when I first saw like a black person in my community. I was like, oh, we have a black people. So
yeah, same with me. I grew up in a small town in Central Mass, and yeah, there was literally one black kid in my graduating class of 59.
Mm-hmm. It's you're living in like a weird community when like white's number one in terms of like well that taken out of context is going to be great. Like in terms of like a population size, and then you have, Asian and then black, because that's like completely not like the normal demographics. So when I moved out to, the District of Columbia, which, the District of Columbia is majority African American, and went out and got my hair cut for the first time, the barber was very confused. She's like, because the listeners, if you haven't seen me in the video, like if you take a sheet of paper and put it up against my leg, it's basically like which one's which. So she was cutting my hair, and she's like, do you have black people in your family? Like, you have like very close to like, African hair, but it's not. I'm like, my grandfather's from Southern Italy, and my dad's from Southern Italy, so that's part of it. Like, okay, like it's like she didn't believe me, like she thought I was albino or something. So when it comes, that's my long way of going to. So when it comes to cutting the facial hair, like it like goes curly like pretty immediately. So it's harder to grow it out, I think, because it's like coarser than you would expect on someone of my skin complexion. So and it's like rougher, so I have to condition it a lot. So that's why I usually didn't grow out a beard, but I've been conditioning, which is like the like least like likely thing I would have thought I would be doing in my life would be conditioning a beard. Like I do a lot of weird crap. Conditioning a beard. Again, you didn't think this was going to go this way here, Justin, but this is where we're at. But I'm liking it. So I don't know. I highly recommend just let the beard flag fly, man. Just like let it grow out. Especially with your big old ponytail and you ride the motorcycles, I think you need a beard. Like. I think that's where I
tried letting it go out, but it just goes out of control. And I have very fine hair, and that goes for the top of my head as well as my face. And I just can't do anything with it. So if I got to the point where I had to condition it, I just shave the whole thing off because I can't be bothered.
Oh, but it's so nice. Like, and then the great thing too is like I got a baby face, so like,
yeah, you do.
I know you've seen it. It's like I hate being carded. I got carded like not. What is this, like 5 years ago, so I was like 26, 27, and I got carded buying a video game, which you have to be over 17. I'm like, you son of a bitch, like, I'm definitely over 17, come on now. And it's like, you look like you're 12 working behind the counter, like, this is just ridiculous. Yeah,
I almost never get carded anymore because, with the face fuzz I've got, it's not exactly dark. It's more of what I call monochromatic blonde.
Yeah.
And it makes me look, I'm, not 17, for example.
I got you.
But I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. My face, my top head hair is very, like, dirty blonde, and my beard is very, like... It's approaching red, so it's a little, it's a little like off. It's better than it was when I was a kid, like not a kid, but when I was first able to grow a beard, like it came in all sorts of different colors. It was like brown and blonde. I was like a fucking calico cat, like. Yeah. See,
calico beard, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Some people would pay good money to have a beard or hair like that.
Well, I thought it was cool, except for none of the girls at school did, so that's why it was just being shaved off.
Well, in that case, forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
priorities.
If your beard can't get you any puss, what good is it? That's how that works. And then once you get married, just let it all grow out. You know, why not? Like,
well, I'm already married, so whatever.
Exactly. So, yeah, I feel like we kind of got off topic here. This is a car show.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. See, this is why I like having Justin on, though, because Justin, despite all the technical issues, is a very charismatic fellow who writes great car articles, and it's not that it's intimidating is not the right word, but you have a wealth of knowledge of automobiles to the point where, like, I feel like I'm almost not utilizing you properly by not talking about cars. So we should get back to that. So,
okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
so you've been riding for the drive. You went up to Mount Washington. We kind of talked about that a little bit. You spent the whole weekend there, and people are racing up this wonderful hill climb. Tell us a little bit about like the history of Mount Washington, because even as a car enthusiast, I'm not too familiar with like what it is and why it is.
Okay, well, I mean, most car people have heard of Pikes Peak out in Colorado and the hill climb up there. The Mount Washington Auto Road actually came first, as well as the Climb to the Clouds. The very first car to go up Mount Washington was a Stanley steamer driven by Stanley himself in 1899. I just wrote an article about this, so I'm rattling this off the top of my head. That's why.
Can I make a quick guess on who currently owns that car? Is it Jay Leno?
Not me.
Is it Jay?
It wouldn't surprise me. He has everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
yeah. So anyway, the first official race up Mount Washington happened in 1904. I believe that was 7 years before the first Indy 500 and 12 years before the first race at Pikes Peak. And it's gone on ever since. Some real legends have raced there over the years. Cannonball Baker, Carroll Shelby held the record for quite some time. The race hasn't always been going. It went between 1961 and 1990. There weren't any races up Mount Washington, but they revived it again in 1990, and it ran for a while. Then it faded out, and now, since 2011, they've been running it every 3 years. Might remember in 2010, Travis Pastrana set a new unofficial record up the mountain in a rally-prepared Subaru. It was unofficial because it wasn't at an officially sanctioned event. But it was faster than any record time so far. So when Climb to the Clouds came back officially in 2011, David Higgins of Subaru Rally Team USA set a new record faster than Travis's, and he broke that record again in 2014. So this year, going into Climb to the Clouds, both Travis Pastrana and David Higgins had their fully rally prep Subarus, except they were running engines from the Global Rallycross cars with twice as much horsepower. So you get these fully rally prep Subarus with 600 horsepower, and it was pretty insane to see.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
So, yeah. And I was up there for Saturday, Sunday. I didn't get up there for the first day of practice Friday. They took place on the top half of the mountain. Saturday, the second day of practice took place on the bottom half of the road, and you say that I'm responsible for all of these technical problems. I don't know about that, but I did happen to be present for not one but two major crashes on Mount Washington, one on each day. Where I was at the Signal Corps spectator area taking pictures and stuff on Saturday, Savage Dave Wallingford was coming up the hill in his Ford Fiesta, going through a very tight, it was a 180 left, followed immediately by a very hard, more than 90-degree right. And he rolled over because he had too much traction, and the Fiesta is not the lowest car to the ground, and he rotated 1.5 times and ended up on his roof. very dramatic. They both got out and walked away from it. In fact, the American Rally Association not only has a good video of the crash, they've also got a video of an interview with the driver and co-driver right afterwards, with the overturned car in the background and all that fun stuff. And then Sunday, I was up at the Cragway spectator area. An important distinction between Mount Washington and Pikes Peak is that Pikes Peak is now all paved all the way up, which many people are very sad about. Mount Washington still has about a mile of gravel road. In fact, I asked one of the people who worked there, have they considered paving it? And I'm curious why it's still gravel. And apparently the road is very, very narrow. I mean, Pikes Peak might as well be a super highway compared to the Mount Washington R road in places, and in its narrowest places, it's hard for two cars in opposite directions to pass each other on a regular day of operation. And it would actually narrow the road even more if they were to pave it, so two cars couldn't get by, and that's why they haven't done it.
Oh.
Little known fact right there.
Makes sense.
But anyway, carrying on, I was up at the Cragway spectator area and watching everyone go up, and there were a couple of red flags for cars that had broken down on the way, but nothing serious. And then I had the ham radio with me. I was listening to the net, and we knew David Higgins had started his run. And he had set the record of 609.09 in 2014. And we were expecting both him and Travis to blow away the 6-minute barrier, but which of them was going to be faster? Travis was faster both days of practice, so Higgins was in the unfamiliar position of coming from behind. He's not used to that. He usually wins everything. So he was pushing as hard as he could, and as he described it later, when he got to the Cragway turn, he forgot about one of the little jogs there. Unlike previous times up, they did not have co-drivers calling out directions to them. So he was traveling alone, and he tried to catch it. This was out of sight, but it's clear on the videos. He tried to catch it. He hand-braked it, but then his left rear wheel caught a rock on the outside, broke the wheel off, broke the brake. Car went spinning and over the side. Fortunately, there was actually something underneath the road to catch him about 10 feet down. It's not like some parts of the road where you could be dropping 1,000 feet easy. That would have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
But, I was there. I saw him go off, and all of us were just, we just couldn't believe it. I mean, this is David Higgins. He's unstoppable. He doesn't make mistakes like this. And, none of us could believe what we saw for a minute. And I was down with a media vest. I was literally right at the side of the road on the inside of the turn, waiting for him to go by. And all I caught on my video was just a little glimpse of the trunk rotating off the road. And once I realized what was going on, I'm like, oh shit, I'm one of the closest people to this guy. I gotta go see if he's okay.
Yes.
So that was where I stopped being a reporter and became a first responder. A couple of the other media guys, one of the volunteers, and we all ran across the road, and we helped him out of the car. And David Higgins was fine. He wasn't the slightest bit hurt. It was interesting too because he was calm and collected, but I could tell the frustration was there. I mean, he didn't talk much. He was doing things like slamming the doors of the cars. He got stuff together. He was closing the doors a little bit harder than necessary. Just bubbling over a tiny little bit. And when he got up to the road, though, it was all collected, all smiles, all waves to the crowd. He did wander off by himself for a few minutes to collect himself. And hey, who can blame him?
Yeah.
He just threw away the record and had a huge crash and, let the team down by crashing the car. Of course, he's going to feel bad about that, but, But then, when he came back, though, he was, I've never seen as good sportsmanship as I saw out of Higgins. There's a great picture that Dagger Slate Media took that actually he offered, and now it's at the top of my article about Pastrana's record-setting run with Pastrana drifting by in the same turn, and there's David Higgins standing basically next to me, giving him a big thumbs up as he goes by. I mean, what sportsmanship. It was great. And, Pastrana got to the top. He ran a 5-minute and 46-second run. So that was awesome. And there were only 2 runs up the mountain, so I was down at the start line for that one. And who comes out to wave the green flag for Travis Pastrana but David Higgins, who can't drive, so he's going to send his teammate off, which is pretty awesome. And then he went and blew his own record away with a 5-minute 44-second run. The interesting thing, though, is there's a certain section of the road where they record everyone's trap speed, how fast they were going. And Pastrana's first run, he went through there at 115. This is a 20-mile-an-hour road, by the way. And his second run, he was only doing 110. Higgins hit it at 116. So it would be interesting to see what Higgins would actually do with a run up to hill. And the hill climb's already been scheduled for July 2020, and he was a great sport about handing the record over to Pastrana, but he's going to be out for blood in 3 years to get that record back.
Yeah,
in a very polite Manx way, of course.
Yeah. It's weird to me that it's every 3 years, but before we kind of dive into that, I'm curious. So you were around the only 2 crashes that happened in this race, right?
Not the only 2. Bill Petro went off near the bottom. His 240 SX kind of went off the road and dropped down into a ditch pretty badly. When we went down the mountain on Saturday, the only way I knew there was a car there is I saw a wheel on the side of the road, and there was a tow truck with a cable stretching way down.
I was going to say, do you know that meme of like the girl standing in front of a fire? That's kind of what I was picturing. Like she's smiling at the camera, like with like an evil face on, and then
yes.
And she gets copied and pasted everywhere. I was going to ask you, like, do you remember where you were May 6th, 1937? Was it around an airfield in New Jersey by any chance? Yeah. December 7th, 1941. Ring any bells? What, Hawaii vacation going on there?
When I was a kid, I used to have a TARDIS in my basement, just like Doctor Who, but I've misplaced it. The chameleon circuit must have altered its form, and I haven't been able to find it in years.
Am I not a big enough nerd, because I don't like Doctor Who? Is that what's holding me back?
It's fine.
Okay.
Everybody's got their things, and it's not one of yours, and that's okay.
Well, I mean, I get the Star Trek references. We could be big old nerds about Star Trek and other nerdy stuff, but, I feel like there's, a big chunk of my nerd culture, where I have a blind spot, and it's Doctor Who. And that seems unfortunate to me.
Yeah, it's a blind spot, but, if it doesn't do it for you, it doesn't do it for you. Whatever.
I think it's the sonic screwdriver, and then the, what are the little guys? To destroy those guys.
Oh, exterminate.
Yeah. Daleks.
They look like salt and pepper shakers, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the, plunger hand where I was like, I'm out.
Yes.
I think that was it.
Back in 1963, that was high tech.
Yeah. We just invented, inside plumbing. Of course, look, the robots are going to... it actually kind of makes sense. If they evolved from, being servant robots, of course they'd have a plunger. Because what's the task you least want to do in your house is have to plunge your own toilet. It makes so much sense now.
A plunger and a ray gun. Yeah, go figure.
The ray gun is to help dissolve the shit, and the plunger is to help it go down the tube. It makes sense. They obviously evolved from being some sort of toilet Roomba thing. So, oh my God!
I think you're really, really onto something here.
Yeah,
No wonder they're so angry all the time. That's all they did.
Yeah, think about it.
No wonder they want to exterminate all other forms of life. Then nobody would be clogging the damn toilet.
Well, see it's even worse than that because it makes more sense because if you go, how do you stop the toilet from getting clogged in the first place? Exterminate all life, you know? Like,
right, that's what I mean. That's why they're out to kill everybody.
Because then they can't clog the toilet. Makes total sense.
Daleks don't use toilets. They'll remain clean all the time.
That's right. This episode, like back early on in this podcast, there was episodes where I think one of the early ones where you were on was one of these too. Well, I feel like we start off with a very broad audience, and like we just slowly, like every 10 minutes, just chomp off more and more until it's just basically like the only two people hearing this are going to be you and me. So
by the time we get to the end, that's not really the way to retain listeners. We should probably work on that.
Yeah, see, but I'm trying to narrow it down to like people who like get it. You know, like doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Even though I really don't get it, so let's kind of change. Let's kind of change.
Doctor Who, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So when you were on, is this the third time you've been on the show and like the fourth or fifth time we've recorded, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think the other times we've been on the show, we really went down the inside the actor studio questions with you ever. So
that's true.
Mm-hmm. So
that's very true. We haven't done that yet. It's been a while.
So you know the questions as they come, which some guests claim to listen to the show, but I'm sure they don't listen that far in. You know, this is the self-deprivation.
If I'd been thinking, I would have actually thought about answers to these questions before, just now. But it's okay. I'll make it up.
Mm-hmm. But for those of you who may be listening for the first time, because this is the automotive podcast of record, we decide to ask our guests the important questions of the automotive community. And for Justin, these are, of course, the thoughts and feelings of you today, because some of these can change day by day, hour by hour, or minute by minute. So, question the first. Okay, get off of the Hindenburg disaster, and then get on to what is your favorite car?
Favorite car? I gotta say, it's a toss-up between either the Miata or the BRZ/FRS/86. I just love those, great handling, adequate horsepower cars that, you gotta actually have a clue how to drive to get the speed and keep the speed on.
Mm-hmm. Which is slightly weird to me because you are a large gentleman. You're tall. You're a little intimidating, and those cars are anything but. So,
I never had problems fitting in the BRZ. The Miata, I definitely had issues getting my head low enough to be below the roll bar for the track.
Mm-hmm.
No question about that.
Well, it's called a roll helmet, isn't it? That's what it's for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how tall are you again?
6 feet.
So for some reason, I thought you were taller than that. Maybe that's just my shitty, posture. For some reason, I had you in my head.
I'm pretty sure you're taller than me.
Yeah. I was trying to think. Yeah, I think I'm confusing you with Penn Jillette for some reason. I think it's the ponytail.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're slightly less magical, too. Only slightly.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. What's your least favorite car?
Oh, least favorite car. I know a lot of people say this, and it's the obvious answer, but anytime I'm stuck behind someone who can't drive or get out of their own frickin' way, it's always a Prius.
Mm.
I don't hate it because it's a hybrid, because there are plenty of, good hybrids out there, like McLaren, Porsche, and Ferrari, and others have shown that you can use hybrid technology to make a car go faster. It's possible. But there's something about the people who drive a Prius that, I don't know, it's the car for people who don't like cars or don't care about driving, and it shows in how they drive, it seems.
That is 100% accurate. So what automotive modification trend do you find yourself attracted to?
Well, being a rally fan as I am, anything like that, knobby tires, a little bit of a lift, 8,000 rally lights all over the car. That's the kind of thing I like, and not exclusive to Subarus. I mean, yes, I'm a Subaru fan. I had a BRZ. I have a WRX, but it can be anything. You could throw all that stuff on a Yugo, and that would be cool. In fact, that would probably even be cooler than a WRX because everybody does it to a WRX.
Yeah, like, are you talking about like the battle wagon trend that I've seen that I absolutely love? Like,
I do like battle wagons. That's not quite what I mean. Not quite that extreme, but like with the Jetta Ute, I'm going to be, it's already taller than stock in the rear because I've taken 200 pounds out of the car. I'm going to be putting VR6 springs in the front. It's only a 1.8 turbo, so that'll lift the front up a little bit. I'll put some knobby tires on that. I may add some extra lights, not necessarily for the rally look, but that's the sort of thing I like. I love the battle wagon thing. That's just a little more extreme than I feel like driving every day.
I gotcha. So kind of like a not maybe pro rally, but like rally prepped would be a good way to call that.
Yeah. Maybe without the roll cage and the racing seat and all that. But yeah.
A rally, maybe rally ready sounds too extreme. I'm trying to think of what
rally-ish.
Rally-ish. Okay. What's your least favorite modification trend? What do you see on the street and you just dislike?
Again, a lot of people say this, but it's the truth. I'm not a fan of stance. I mean, I can appreciate the work that goes into, getting the edge of the fender ever so close to the rim without touching or rubbing or anything. That does take a bit of engineering, but when you get a car that low and with that much negative camber, it's just, what makes a good race car taken to an extreme, and it makes the car unusable. I like a car I can drive rather than, necessarily looking good.
What automotive sound or noise do you love?
Oh, there are so many, but I gotta say, I could have had a V8. Nice throaty V8 rumble. That was one thing my Crown Vic cop car did well because a previous owner put Flowmasters on it, and that was pretty sweet.
Is it a law that every automotive enthusiast needs to own a old police car at some point?
Well, you've seen the Blues Brothers, right?
That's true. You have your Boston accent, your Massachusetts accent sneaks out occasionally, and it absolutely delights me whenever it does. So,
well, I did grow up in the town of Harvard.
Yeah, you're just like Blues Brothers. The I don't know. It just tickles me pink. I find accents absolutely fascinating.
I hadn't even noticed, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is it. I've been smiling this whole time because it occasionally sneaks out, but that one put me just over the edge. What automotive sound or noise do you hate?
Oh, what do I hate? A 4-cylinder engine with a straight pipe, no muffler, no resonator, just usually on an old Civic, so, it's up at the high revs constantly, sounding like it's working its ass off and not really going very fast.
Which is always
Don't get me wrong, I love old Civics, but that particular setup of one doesn't do it for me.
Yeah,
it makes my ears bleed.
Yeah, that's bleeding ears. It's just by like the amount of it on the road, it's definitely one of the worst things on the planet, along with the like whoop whoop whistles, but I feel like those went away. Like Bub Rub, those never really took off elsewhere in the world, thank God.
The whistles go woo!
No, the whistles go woo woo! That's what they do.
Yep.
They do too. Come on now.
Oh, there's a classic.
Yeah. It's almost as good as the Fuck You Baltimore ad from a while ago. Like, if you're dumb enough to buy a car this weekend, you're dumb enough to buy it from Bill Hells. Yeah. That's a good one.
Not being from Baltimore, I didn't see that, but that's kind of funny.
You don't know what I'm talking about? It's an old, it's a commercial. It was on YouTube a while ago. It was big on YouTube back when YouTube, like, first got out. It's like an old it looks like an old television commercial. It never actually ran here in Baltimore, but it was literally like, fuck you, Baltimore. If you're dumb enough to buy a car this weekend, you're dumb enough to buy it from Bill Hells. Like, Bill Hells, like, bring your wife. Like, we'll fuck her. That's right. We'll fuck your wife. Like, that. You need to go. You need to go watch it. It's absolutely, like, especially when it gets to challenge.
Go look that up, yes.
Yeah, especially when it gets to challenge pissing. I feel like you in particular will enjoy that.
Nice.
What profession in the automotive community? So anything from lube tech to guy to Sergio Marchione. Marchione? I'm trying to remember how to pronounce his name. Anyway, the guy in charge of Fiat Chrysler.
Right.
Would you like to try?
Well, let's see.
If you could do anything, like there's no limitation.
I could do anything,
yeah.
right? I would have said, write about cars and get paid for it, but I'm actually doing that now, so I'm going to skip that one and try to think of something else. Probably I'd want to be a factory like driver or instructor, either test driver or like with BMW, Cadillac, a bunch of those companies have their own, even Dodge have their own, or SRT has their own performance driving school. So when you buy like a CTS-V or an M-Car or an SRT vehicle, along with that purchase, you get sent to this driving school to actually learn what the hell you're doing with it. And it would be fun to be one of those drivers and instructors. So I think that's what I'd like to go for in a dream.
I'm picturing you, because there's always that like drivers meeting beforehand where they like give out like all like the charts and diagrams. I'm trying to decide if you would be in there for hours and hours or if you'd be in there for like 5 minutes.
I would lean closer to the 5 minutes if I can. Get the basics and then let's just go drive. Have some fun.
I would say there's no median. There's no median in there for you. I just knew it was one or the other. So,
Pretty much.
What profession, though, do you think you'd be the worst at or least want to do?
I would be terrible at sales, I think, because I'm just too nice a guy. I mean, that's not to say that salespeople are jerks or anything. Well, I'm sure there are some that are, but I know there are some that are. I've experienced a few.
No, not in the automotive sales, yeah. No.
Yeah. But, I'm not a good salesman. I'm not good at, trying to get people to buy a car they don't necessarily need. I'd be the one saying, yeah, I mean, I know you want this new WRX, but hey, we've got this 96 Impreza L out back that it's going to be so much more fun. And you can have it for $1,000, and I'd make no commission, and I'd get fired in like a month or something like that. I'd be pretty bad at that. Upselling like the warranties and all that stuff, or options. Yeah, I think I'd be pretty bad at that.
You don't really need that warranty. It's fine. Like undercoating's basically just bullshit. You don't want it. Just don't sign here. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your automotive pet peeve?
Left lane hogs. Usually a Prius.
This is true.
But yeah, I actually am tempted when I get the Jetta back on the road. I'm tempted to pick up one of those traffic advisor, like amber blinky light things, and put it on the Jetta, so that when I'm stuck behind a Prius doing 50 in a 65 zone in the left lane, and I finally get a break in traffic to blow past him on the right, I can get in front of him and put on the blinky lights telling him to move left. I wonder if that would have any effect.
That is
but that is by far my pet peeve.
That is a good idea. I wonder if I could get one for the front of my car. It's like, deet, 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 like, get over. Although then he might think I'm trying.
Saturn, my SC2, I had an amber Knight Rider light bar that just went back and forth like Knight Rider because I'm a great big nerd like that.
No, not you, sir. Not at all.
No, never.
No. Never watched a Star Trek episode in your life? Never. Not the case.
Oh yeah, like a couple earlier tonight with the wife.
So, Ooh, now here's a good one. So, when you were forced to listen to all these, I don't know if we actually did this segment, so this might be even new to you. So, you have a choice. You have to live with one of these cars for the rest of your life. You're not allowed to modify it beyond the way that I modify it for you. So, you have either a Toyota GT86, but it's been fully stanced out, or you can have a Toyota Prius that's been rally-ished.
Ooh. And I'm not allowed to modify it.
No, you got to keep it. The day of delivery, that's how you got to keep it. It's your daily driver.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have cars in addition to it?
Your wife is allowed to have her Flex. That's about as far as that goes. So.
Okay, well, the Flex is pretty cool. Anyway.
But you're not allowed to drive it.
Oh, okay. Bleh. Sheesh. Well, the 86 all stanced out and everything would be interesting to drive. It would be exciting, but I think along the lines of the fast or slow car fast philosophy, I'd go for the Rally Prius, and I would rallycross the hell out of it. Because, hey, electric motors can generate maximum torque from 0 RPM. And having ridden an electric sport bike about a month ago, that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I'd take the Prius because it's the better daily driver, and also so I could rally the hell out of it.
Can I tell you how much respect I would have for a Prius with mud stains on it? Like even if it was still clogging the left lane, I'd be like, props. Like, you can't see me, but I'm doing the Obama not bad face right now. Like, I can get behind that, yeah.
Well, see, the way I look at it is it would be a Prius that I could just beat the crap out of and abuse like the car deserves to be.
It's a bit of Schadenfreude by getting to, well, I guess not even Schadenfreude, you just get to punish it for all the other ones. Like, it's your, it's the BDSM Prius, basically. Like, you get to punish it because it's been a bad boy. Like,
oh, there we go. Hey, yeah, paint it all like matte black and put the Punisher skull on the hood. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. And then,
can I modify it like that?
Yeah, we're gonna do that, and we're also gonna put some whips in the back seat, just to make people ask questions. Like, Justin, what are the whips for? Like, mind your business. That's what.
Wouldn't you like to?
Exactly. Well, it's interesting. So, getting back to, I feel like we did talk at all about cars here, which is just fine, I guess, in a way.
No, we did a little.
A little, yeah.
The hill climb, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. You caused the Hindenburg, stuff like that. So,
like that.
Are you bringing the Ute on the Lemons Rally this next year? Is that the plan?
That is the hope. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to go about it yet, or with whom. My wife has dibs on the co-driver slot, but she may not opt to take it. So we'll have to see. I mean, once the Utification is done and I'm driving it regularly again, then there's the matter of getting it into, actual, real, reliable driving condition, because, of course, that's the important thing for the Lemons Rally.
Yes, lesson learned there, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also good tires, which is also on the plan.
What's it?
So
tires?
Yeah. Tires, yeah.
Like big tires?
You might run into some snow.
No, that barely happened at all in the race.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Just a little. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like to do the Lemons Rally with it next year. That would be really cool. Just got to figure out how to make it happen. But I'm really not thinking quite that far ahead yet, because I'm one step at a time. First, it's finish the build, and then it's finish the exterior with the dip or whatever. Probably the dip at this point. And there's the mechanical stuff, finishing, making it a good reliable car, truck, whatever the hell it is.
Are you going to clear coat the dip, or are you going to make it shiny?
I'm not sure. Possibly. Got to figure that out.
I think you should, because you're making it purple, right? That's the plan?
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. It's they introduced it as a muscle car kind of purple, and of course the Jet is no muscle car, but we really like that purple. So
I feel like purple has to be gloss. I don't know if you could do matte purple. I'm not sure if it'll look 100% like the way you're picturing it, because I kind of like the idea of like a crazy plum, or I guess it's plum crazy purple Jetta, which is like all sorts of like crazy on its own, but it needs to be like as glossy as hell, so like you can piss off all those old muscle car guys. So,
nice.
Oh my god!
Well, the beauty of it is the gloss layer goes on last. So while making it purple, I've got to go through the matte phase anyway.
True.
So if we get it matte purple and I don't like it, then it's fine like that for a while, and then when I'm ready, just clean it all up real good and gloss it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. So, Justin, I want to thank you so much for dealing with all the technical bullshit that you may or may not cause by some weird like cosmic
Stick
power.
around and listen to the blooper reel after this. It'll be most entertaining, or it'll make your ears bleed. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite which.
But not as
either.
bad as a Civic with a straight pipe.
Mm-hmm. Did I ever ask you what the hardest food to eat while driving is?
No, you didn't. And I've been thinking about this, and I've been trying to come up with an original answer you haven't heard before. So far, I have failed to do so.
Mm-hmm. I need to get a chart. I need to get a chart of it, because I do. Yeah, at some point, like person with what it goes with.
Difficult to eat, but I don't think it's the most difficult by any stretch of the imagination. It's just French fries with cheese and gravy, so that's pretty simple, all things considered. What was it that Matt Hardigree said? It was pho?
Oh, no, matzo ball soup.
Oh, matzo ball soup. That's right. I remember he had something really difficult, and I think since I can't come up with a better idea of my own, I'm gonna have to agree with the Hardy Bird on that one.
Mm-hmm. He even recommended a matzo place in D.C., so I got to go check that out.
That's right.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife makes good matzo ball soup too, even though she doesn't actually like the stuff, which is funny because she's Jewish. But hey, whatever.
But I think
she makes it for me. That's all good.
Mm-hmm. I've never had it. It's on my list of stuff to eat. I've had gefilte fish before, which is...
Okay, I've not had that, though we do have a gefilte fish chew toy for the dog.
Why would you abuse the dog like that?
Well, we also have a Subaru Impreza chew toy we picked up at Wicked Big Meat.
Oh, okay.
And, she likes chewing on that.
Okay.
And actually, she likes chewing on basically anything that's not nailed down. No, I take that back. She likes chewing on occasionally the wood trim of the door sometimes. So that is nailed down. She just likes chewing on anything.
Yeah, it's a big old dog, isn't it? It's a big old Mastiff or...
Oh, Newfoundland, yeah. 140 pounds of puppy.
Oh, that's... Your dog is like 30 pounds shy of me. That's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
So...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Probably knock you over too. She's pretty strong.
Yeah, no, I'm not fucking around with your dog.
Oh, she's a sweetie.
Which is good, crazy to be, because you're a large gentleman, you got a large dog, and you drove a Subaru BRZ, probably the smallest and like, I'm not gonna say it was a feminine car, but it definitely was not a masculine vehicle. So, like, it was almost like the scene from The Simpsons where like...
Miata's not a masculine vehicle
True.
at all.
Yeah.
Unless you put a roll bar in it, then it looks butch.
yeah, it looks like ironically, a Subaru a Mazda with a roll bar looks like the sort of person who would drive a Subaru Forester, if you catch my drift on that one. So,
I rock a Forester XT. That's like an STI wagon.
Yeah, they're good. Well, is that the one with the Wait, is that the
That's
one?
Got the STI drivetrain, yeah.
Yeah. Is that like the really trucky looking one though? What's that little one? They made it for a little bit in like the 90s.
Oh, the Baja?
No. I do like the Baja too. See, again, this is. I guess I am thinking of the Forester because it was very kind of small, trucky looking.
Yeah, the Forester. It's a tall wagon. It's taller than the Impreza wagon, just to confuse you, because it's the same running gear.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a tall wagon. Now it's it's blown up into a small SUV crossover thing of its own.
I'm trying to think of.
But hey, that's what the average driver wants. So can't Subaru for growing their market like that.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's a little nutty to me. I don't quite get why that's the case. I'm just waiting for wagons to come back. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
One day.
I'm with you. I love wagons.
Yeah.
The Flex is technically classified as a wagon, not a crossover or SUV.
This is true, and it runs and drives like a wagon, and I really like it for that reason. Yeah.
And even at the Oppo rally, the judges did decide we got the bonus for having a wagon.
Dun.
The Oppo rally is like all that really matters, right?
Yeah, I think that's 100% all that matters. X rally, that's all that matters. That's anything they decide at whatever rally, that's all that matters. Well, I say that it has to be a car-related thing because there are other types of rallies, and we don't want to associate with those rallies. So,
not necessarily. I mean, NASA Rally Sport has the Rally Moto class, so dual sport motorcycles can compete in that. So, yeah, that's rally for motorcycles. So that's also cool.
Yeah, but there's like rallies where like people get together and they all dress like the same, and then like sometimes there's like torches and pitchforks and stuff. We don't want to be associated with those types of rallies. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not my thing.
No. Yeah, definitely not. It's so as long as it's motorsport associated and it's a rally, that's all that matters. Yeah. So
I'm definitely good with that. Yeah.
Which again.
No pitchforks or torches or anything in the rally cars. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Snow shovels occasionally, but that's as close as we get.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes you need them.
Well, I don't know. I think that'd be a good little discussion group to go out on there since we're already a little bit over time, but, F it. I'm sure your wife's just sitting there glaring.
Over time? That never happens.
No, never. Nuh-uh. Like, I was say, like, I think, like, one episode I ever stayed on time, it's because the guy had a hard out. And that was Bob Lutz, and that was super early on. So, and even he, like, when I was getting off the phone with him, he's like, I could have stayed around and talked longer. Well, your publicist said you can only stick around for an hour. Like, wow, she tells that to everyone. All right, cool. But anyway.
Honestly, we're pretty close anyway, so, yeah, good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically Bob Lutz. So the...
Close.
Close enough.
He's better looking.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd fuck him before you, but that's just because I'm a gold digger. That's just how that works. Just in case you wanted to know. I don't know where he falls on the list overall, but definitely above you. No offense to you, but he's got a lot more money. And probably has a nicer car collection. Nothing against a Flex, but... that's how that works.
Okay, Ike, you broke me. Congratulations.
You see, I told you my ADHD is worse than your ADD or whatever. So
You're right. You win.
Yep, I got it. So King of the Mountain again. So, but speaking of that, so you took part in the opposite lock rally. I took part in the Lemons rally. And they were basically, I think the opposite lock rally was a lot inspired by the Lemons rally because Steve, the gentleman running, did it. So I really got to say, the more I interact with that community, the more there's these rallies that get out, and because it's a fun day trip, and you took your significant other, so Do you think? And while I was doing the Lemons Rally, I had a very similar thought that I'm about to kind of make you have to have thought, which is if you have a significant other who really doesn't get why people like cars, I think this would be a great way to get them into that hobby. Like, get them to understand why people like the vehicles the way they do and to enjoy them in a way a little off the beaten path of like the traditional car show where you have people with like models of their car on their car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I am fortunate enough to already know that my wife gets it because she has co-driven with me as a sweep and course opening at a couple of stage rallies, and neither of us ended up dead. So she gets it. She likes it. The Oppo rally was actually a bit relaxing compared to some of that, except for the part where, because we took her flex for maximum points, station wagon, 2 turbos, all that fun stuff, and we ended up having to withdraw in the middle of the afternoon because the turbos lost power. We limped home, and to make a long story short, both turbos blew.
Oh.
Fortunately, it was under warranty and fully covered because we were out for an afternoon or a day of sightseeing. We weren't actually racing because legit, the Oppo Rally is not a race.
This is true.
We did, however, still manage to score a pair of I Got Screwed trophies because we had something like the 3rd newest vehicle in the entire event, and we're pretty much the only ones who had to withdraw due to massive mechanical failure.
And I think that's, you had to withdraw for a reason. I had to withdraw for a completely different reason. Both mechanical.
So we worked it out of our systems, and then at next year's Lemons Rally, we're going to be great.
Yeah. Well, and then I met someone who has a tow rig, and then hopefully we can, if worse comes to worse, we can pop on that tow rig. Anyway, so, but I do think a lot of people are hesitant to try and do something like the Lemons Rally or the Opposite Lock Rally or even something like the Gambler. I mean, the Gambler is a little bit more to the, like, you're off road. You really can't take a new vehicle, but like even like a hot rod power tour, something like that. I think it's a great experience to get out and do, and you don't necessarily need to try and win the event because again, it is an event. It's not a race. It's very much you get out, you do a lot of sightseeing, you get to go to parts of the country that you would never go to. I mean, I saw parts of Pennsylvania I never want to see, but never would have saw anyway without it. And some great scenery, and Europe and the east, northeast, and there's some great sightseeing up there down because the race started in Jersey and ended in Jersey, I think.
It was Connecticut.
Connecticut,
we started,
that's right. Yeah,
just over the border into New York, like literally right across the river, and all of the checkpoints and everything were in Connecticut. And the final checkpoint, there was one checkpoint right near the start, were 300 points that we had to make to have any chance, and there was another checkpoint all the way up in Thompson, Connecticut, in the northeast corner of the state, as far away from that first one as you can get, also worth 300 points. And you basically had to hit both of them to get the 600 points to have like any chance of placing reasonably in the event. We didn't. But that ensured, though, that you did have to travel the entire length of Connecticut. And, we had all kinds of good scenery, all kinds of fun roads I never knew about. Connecticut's one of those states, both for cruising as well as my motorcycle, because I'm always looking for fun roads on the bike, and I haven't done much cruising around Connecticut. But we found some really fun roads as we went along there. And I'm kind of sad we didn't get to finish the second half of it. Of course, we did spend some time in Bridgeport, which is not one of the nicest places to be, but we didn't get shot either, so I call that a win.
Yeah. It sounds like a lovely place. It is not.
No.
There's trying to think here. I had a thought, and I'm going to put this one out there. I think you should Lemons rally next year with the significant other on the motorcycle. I think that's what you need to do.
On the motorcycle? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, she's got maybe 15 minutes on my bike in its current configuration. Yeah, that would be a little tricky.
Ooh, motorcycle sidecar.
Yeah.
And not your wife, a monkey. I'm going to get you a monkey.
Why not just take the Newfoundland? She could ride the sidecar.
Okay, but so like B.J. McGrilla had his best friend Bear, which was a monkey. So your Newfoundland needs like another weird animal name. So,
well, she is Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All.
Yeah, but
which is another Doctor Who reference, but we won't dwell on that.
Okay, so yeah, it went right over the head. I knew
it's
something.
It's kind of an obscure one too.
Well, yeah, my BJ McGrilla reference was not obscure. I mean, come on now.
No, I get it. Really.
Yeah, okay. Oh, we're so nerdy. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
we are.
So since we just lost our last listener, I think this might be the time to end. So, Justin, absolute pleasure to talk to you as always. You're writing for The Drive. You're just kind of tell us where we can find you and what we should do to, go read your stuff. So.
Well, these days you can look me up at The Drive to read pretty much everything I'm writing these days. You can also look me up on Twitter at JustinHughes54. I've run Car 54 for various automotive events for years. I'm also on Facebook. I think if you look up Justin Hughes RFD, because I never changed that particular name from Right Foot Down, and I don't care because Right Foot Down is still very awesome. So that's all good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the various social medias and such where you can find me.
And you are the defender of The Drive on Twitter. There's I think that's
only like once or twice. I mean, they can defend themselves.
It's wonderful. They're great guys over there. Hopefully, we'll have Mr. Mike Guy on to defend his.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, terrible movie selection. So we'll see what goes on with that.
Yes. I saw that. So yeah, get my boss on and torture him like you torture me.
Okay, we'll do, and I'll tell him nothing but terrible things about you. So
by all means, yes, nothing but the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the worst lie I could tell him about you. I don't know. I know.
Find out something he really likes and tell him I hate it.
Justin hates cars. He thinks they're stupid.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and Priuses are the best.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. I'm writing this down. So Justin, pleasure to have you as always. Everyone listening, I'll be right back with you, Justin. I'll say goodbye to you off air. So.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. All right, everyone. After this, we have a quick blooper reel. The audio quality is sketchy on that, so we're just going to do the finishing up here at the moment. So if you like what you heard, make sure to tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell an enemy. Go to Best Buy and just subscribe on all the computers there. That works. Seriously though, just tell a friend. That's how we grow here. It's the best way to really support the show. You can follow the show on all social media at Untitled Car Show, all one word. It's good for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you like what's going on with the Instagram, you can follow our West Coast correspondent at Ryan West at Ryanator122, and make sure to leave us a review on iTunes. So, thank you so much for listening. Have a good night. Have a good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is there. We really do appreciate it. And please, be safe out there. Hello, and welcome to the Untitled Car Show. I am joined today by the gremlin of technical issues, Justin Hughes, a.k.a. Yeah. Justin, thank you so much. I mean, we tried doing this. I think I'm going to put the technical issues we had from when we last tried to record at the end of this, just because I think it will be hilarious.
Yeah, that'll be the blooper reel. That'll be great.
Yeah, we haven't had one of those yet, so that should be interesting. So, what makes it really interesting is you used to do the podcast episode description, which was fantastic for me because that meant I didn't have to write anything. And we talked very briefly about this before we started just having a horrid technical issues last time. So, how badly did that make you want to quit and go work for the Drive?
Well, it wasn't because of the write-ups for your podcast. I can guarantee that. Nah, it was interesting to do. It was just tricky. I mean, the perk of that gig.
Working at the
All right,
moment.
everyone. After
So
this,
we're just going to try and get a
quick
little
blooper
bit
reel.
as we can here. So
The audio
for
quality
those of
is
you who don't
sketchy
know,
on
so
that,
a lot
so
of
we're just
podcasters
going to
go out there. They have people
do the
record on their
finishing
end and
up
people
here at the
record on
moment. So if you
mine,
like what you heard,
like the recorder's end.
make sure to tell a friend.
I
tell
don't do
a
that
loved
here on
one,
the
tell,
show. I like to
an
operate
enemy,
where we
go
just kind of
to Best
record
Buy and just subscribe on all the
at one
computers there.
location.
That
And
works.
I use an iPhone and a lightning
seriously though,
output
just
jack,
tell a friend. That's
and
how we
I gotta
grow
convert it
here.
to headphones, and that adapter has
it's
been
the best way
giving
to
me
really
nothing but
support the
issues.
show.
And every time Justin is on the
You
show,
can
I
follow
have technical
the
issues, and I don't know
show
what Justin,
on
what
all
is
social
wrong
media
with you, and why are you my
Untitled
kryptonite
Car
when it comes to
Show,
recording
all one
shit?
word. It's good for Facebook,
I
Twitter.
think that's exactly what it is. Oh
and
my
Instagram.
goodness! Thank you for joining
If
me on
you
the
like
show.
what's going on with
Yes,
Instagram.
you are on the show. Your voice is
you can follow
audible. This is
West Coast
awesome.
correspondent at
Oh,
or Ryan West at
Goodness
Ryan
gracious me, oh my.
122.
I am not touching
And,
anything at the
you
moment.
know,
So
Make sure to
Justin,
leave us a review on iTunes. So
yeah,
thank you so much
you
for
recently
listening. Have a good night.
started writing
Have a good
some.
evening, wherever you are,
for
whatever
those of
time
you
it
who
is
don't know,
there.
Justin used
We
to
really
write
do
my
appreciate it.
articles.
And please be safe out
He's
there.
left me, and now I got to write them all myself. And first of all, Justin, it sucks writing my articles. Just so you know, like I don't like doing it. How did you do it? Shit. Oh. Justin, shit was my symbolic. We lost the audio again. Hold on. Justin, I am going to try something. I'm going to call you right back. Boop.
Not so much painful as time consuming because, of course, I have to listen to the entire podcast before it goes out and then try and pick out the interesting and weird bits to mention in the article just to tease it a bit and try and get people interested in listening. Yes, that's going pretty well. It's definitely a new and interesting challenge. I'm putting out anywhere from 3 to 5 articles a day.